Welcome, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening for those of you all who will see this later on. I want to welcome you to A Better Life Together's Wednesday webinar series for the Bridge Project. Bridge stands for Bridging Resources into Diverse Groups Everywhere. If you've been on, you just heard from our Vice President, Clyde Williams. He was sharing a story of just some of the disparity that we encounter on a daily basis, sometimes an hourly basis, minute to minute, of people who are just trying to gain access to services that they're eligible for and just, need to fight for those rights. And one of the tools, again, that I have been using over, it's almost been a year, with Better Life Together is working really, really closely with Maria Salas. I attended a training session probably back in September when I first started, and I learned about Disability Rights California and all that they do. I then, well, before that, had become aware of IHSS, in-home support services, and as a mom of an individual with a disability, I'm very familiar with the cumbersome process of applying for SSI, applying for gaining supports outside of the educational environment, and again, Disability Rights California has, helped me tremendously, just transitioning from the Midwest to California. So I cannot tell you how excited I am to have Maria and Katie Meyer here with us this morning. I've already made the decision that we are going to do this again. So we're definitely going to have them back. I'll be putting some information down into the chat, and also feel free to list any questions in the chat at the end of their presentation. We will refer to those questions first. If you feel comfortable coming on camera and asking your questions, feel free to do that during the Q&A portion. But again, I will refer to the questions added in the chat first. So just really, really quick, I think it's been more than 40 years that Disability Rights California has been serving individuals. They have on staff attorneys, they help people in their applications for SSI, they help people in their applications for IHSS. And then when those denials are present, because if you've been in this for any length of time, you know that sometimes there is an initial denial for either one of those. And so getting that verbiage right, and getting all of that together to submit for any type of denial, and you have that wait period. They've been instrumental with a lot of folks doing that as well for the Bridge Project. I won't delay too much longer. If we can give, because we're still kind of in COVID, so I've been doing my COVID clap for a year now. Let's just put this hand with this hand, and this is how we do the COVID clap to welcome Maria and Katie. Take it away, Maria.
Thank you, Melissa, and thanks everyone for joining today. Glad to spend my morning with all of you. So I'm gonna go ahead and get to it. I'm gonna share my screen. This is going to be an introduction to our office, the Office of Clients' Rights Advocacy. So let's go ahead and move this down. Okay. So we are the Office of Clients' Rights Advocacy. In our office, we have myself, the Assistant Clients' Rights Advocate, Maria Salas, and then our Clients' Rights Advocate is Tanya Schloss, who is actually on leave. So she is not currently with us, but we have Katie Meyer, who's present today, supporting our office, and then we also have our other clients' rights advocate, Victoria, who is helping with cases in Tanya's absence. So we still have a full uh, office. And this is our direct office number. Always best to call this number. I think there is a 1-800 number that goes around, but this number here, you will get me directly. So this is a group training, just a little disclaimer. If you have any questions or specific questions regarding um, a family or yourself, then it would be best to speak in private about that. So no details. We can always speak after you have our number, and so just no details during this training. So, the Office of Clients' Rights Advocacy, as Melissa mentioned, is a program of Disability Rights California. So, we're a unit within Disability Rights California. The way I usually explain it is our office is specifically here. Um, to provide services to regional center consumers, but there are other units within Disability Rights California who have their own job. This is a job specifically for our unit, for OCRA. So we're funded through a contract with the California Department of Developmental Services. And who we serve is we advocate on behalf of consumers with developmental disabilities of all 21 regional centers across the state. So as far north as Redwood, and then we're the far southern or the most southern regional center here in San Diego. And so we have an OCRA office assigned to every regional center in the state. So our services specifically are for anybody who is currently receiving services from the regional center. And the only other exception is anybody who's seeking eligibility to receive regional center services. So when anybody calls us, we definitely screen for that. And we'd be happy to direct them. If they're not receiving services, we can direct them to Disability Rights California for anything else. But we're definitely here to help anybody that's connected to the regional center. The client's rights advocate, I mentioned, so Tanya or Victoria are the client's rights advocates with our office. They're trained specifically to advocate on behalf of people with developmental disabilities. There is a client's rights advocate for every regional center, and then we also have statewide CRAs. CRAs are not employees of the regional center, so none of our staff is. We're employees of Disability Rights California, and we provide free legal services for regional center consumers, and everything that we work to resolve. So any issues that come our way, all of them are directly related to the person's disability. The assistant client's rights advocate, that would be myself. I manage the office and the cases for the client's rights advocate. I'm the person that when you call our office, you speak with directly. If I don't speak with you or I miss a call, then I will return your call. I am also the person that completes intakes. I can also take on certain cases directly and then give trainings such as these. We have, like I said, a CRA and an ACRA in every office, and then we have a statewide assistant clients rights advocate who are bilingual. I am also bilingual, so I am fluent in Spanish also. I'm able to help any Spanish-speaking families that come our way. So what we do for consumers, we are able to provide information on legal rights, just like Melissa mentioned. We can review documents, advise on how to resolve the issue that you're having. We can help prepare for an upcoming meeting or hearing. This would include IPPs, IEPs, things like that. Assist in preparing documents to assure compliance with the law, provide legal trainings for consumers, families, service providers, and community groups, represent at a meeting or administrative hearing, and investigate denials of rights. The areas of laws that we help with, I think I provided brochures to Melissa, and these are all listed on the brochure, but these are just a few. So it would be Regional Center, Lanterman Act, special education, social security, Medi-Cal and private insurance, discrimination, conservatorship and guardianship, personal autonomy, community integration, IHSS, as Melissa mentioned, and abuse and neglect. I really want to stress this to everybody on this call. Our services are free for anybody receiving services from the regional center. So in doing these trainings, I've learned that families are sometimes referred to other organizations or groups, which is great as you know, as long as you're receiving help. But we do understand that especially with social security cases, a lot of the times if there's a great outcome on the case and they receive retro pay, a portion of that goes to the organization that helped you. We do not take any of that money. Anything that you keep from a favorable outcome stays with you, stays with the family. And so I just want everybody to keep that in mind. The services are free, and we're able to help with issues like Social Security. So SSI, SSDI hearings, SSI or SSDI overpayments, we've had some great success in this area. M- Thankfully, due to Tanya, who actually specialized in Social Security cases before coming to our office, she's been a great resource in our office for all of these cases. And although she's out on leave, we are still able to take these cases. So let's not deter from coming into our office with these issues. We're still able to take a look at these cases. So it would include disability cessation, age 18 redeterminations, work incentives while on Social Security or SSI, information on applying for SSI or SSDI, appealing a denial from SSI or SSDI. We continue on with IHSS, same thing, applying for IHSS, appealing IHSS denials, IHSS protective supervision, Medi-Cal eligibility and terminations, share of cost, waivers, CalAble accounts, alternatives to conservatorship, reasonable accommodations at work or in housing, also legal issues that we help with. How does anybody receive help from our office? So you would contact the office. So here in San Diego, it would obviously be our office. Any other regional centers, they would connect with their OCRA staff. When you do call our office, what we will do is we will complete an intake. So part of that would be asking you basic information. So the person who's receiving services from the regional center, I would ask about their information, phone number, address, birth date. I would ask about the issue that you're having and then anything related to that issue. So the questions would be very specific to the issue that you're having. I would just gather details about the issue. So any notices, anything like that that you might have with you, I will ask about. Do we help everybody that calls our office? We definitely hope that we do. We try to. That's what we strive to do. And the thing to keep in mind is that the type of help that we provide callers is different for every case. And so at times that might be information and a referral, technical assistance, investigation of your case, or direct representation. And we will look at every case differently. So we will look at all the information that I've gathered. We will review all the information. It will be a discussion, and then we'll decide what type of service or help we might be able to provide. And how we decide to directly represent in the case. Let me just explain. Direct representation means that the client's rights advocate will take on the case, which means that you will know that we're directly representing because we will have to have a representation agreement signed. We will also discuss that with you prior to sending you the representation agreement. everything would be a discussion with the family, with the person receiving services, and at times it leads up to direct representation, but we don't necessarily start off right away with direct representation, if that makes sense. In deciding on whether to represent you directly, the client's rights advocate will consider the merits of your case, ability to advocate for yourself, the availability of our resources, other advocacy resources available, and then based on that information, we will decide how we're going to help after you're in the initial intake or the call. And so keep in mind our office is a client's rights advocate and an assistant client's rights advocate. Um, and so that's something to consider. Is every caller considered a client? No. So our contract with DDS states that we're only able to serve the consumer of the regional center. So it wouldn't be the family members, service providers, or advocates. It would only be the person who's receiving services from the regional center. So the consumer is the client, not anybody else who calls our office. So although we have, parents, service providers, or other advocates that call on behalf of the client, the only person that's truly our client is the person receiving services from the regional center. And us being the Office of Clients' Rights Advocacy, we support the express or best interest of the consumer. So the express interest of the client are what a consumer tells us they want. If they're unable to communicate directly with us, we will try to figure out how to determine the best interest of the client and how we can help meet their needs or their expressed or best interest. And to do so, we will speak with family, circle of support, care providers, regional center service coordinators, or other important people in the person's life. So anybody close to them who might be able to give us some insight. As far as confidentiality, since the regional center consumer is our client, they're entitled to receive information on their case. We can only share information about their case after we get permission on the phone or in person, even if we don't get it in writing. So at times, especially during the pandemic, a lot of this has been, verbal, and then we can get something in writing, but we usually would need permission in writing, but in extreme emergencies such as a pandemic, then they can just express that verbally. So this means that we can't share information with family members, service providers, health providers, or other advocates without first receiving consent from our client. Conflicts of interest. So, if something arises between the expressed or best interest of the client and the wishes of the family, service providers, or other advocates, we will always work for the expressed or best interest of the client, not the person who contacted our office. So, just we're the Office of Clients' Rights Advocacy, so we're always going to work for our client, which is the person receiving services from the regional center. If there's a problem that we're not able to handle, then we'll usually refer you to another advocacy agency, send you self-help publications, refer you to Disability Rights California. As Melissa mentioned, we have a lot on our site that is really helpful for families, a lot of information there. Uh, it's just a great resource. And then we can also refer to family resource centers. Um, so how to contact our office? The 1-800, or there is a northern 1-800 number, a southern 866 number that you can call. We also have a staff directory on our website, disabilityrightsca.org. But for our office here in San Diego, it would be the 619-239-7877 number. You will get me directly. That's it for me. So I am going to post a survey on the chat. It's going to be a survey link for everyone to go ahead and fill out. And then if anybody has any questions, I will stop sharing, and we'd be glad to take any questions. Katie Meyer is here with me, so I'm going to throw her in. She can also answer questions that anybody might have. I know that was a lot of information.
Yeah, and just real quick, I can give an example of a situation where, maybe a client cannot tell us what they want. We do serve a lot of clients who are nonverbal, or they don't communicate in the same way that people without disabilities communicate, but there are ways that we try to communicate with our clients. And then looking to family members and their circle of support, we often do that. Let's take Social Security, SSI, for example. So a client's receiving SSI, they receive a huge overpayment, which means that the Social Security Administration is saying that they're overpaid and that they need to pay the money back to Social Security. Well, we would assume that any client does not want to have to pay money back to the Social Security Administration and would want help with that. Even if they can't tell us that they want help, they can't say, I would like to hire you to represent me to please, talk with Social Security and file a request for reconsideration. And they don't have to know all those big words. They just have to know that they need help, or we can surmise that they need help with their overpayment. And then we can take on that case. Their family member might call us and say, my adult child has an overpayment. Can you help? And that would be something that we can help with. So it's not that we always have to talk directly to the client and they really talk back to us. All of our clients have developmental disabilities. Oftentimes they are nonverbal or have difficulty communicating. So we do try to just help them as best we can, and given their disabilities. So that's just kind of an example of a time when we would help someone, even though they're not directly telling us and using all the language that they're supposed to use to hire us, so to speak. And we put the number again, Melissa, in the chat for people who might not have seen it before. And then, does anyone have any questions for us?
I actually had a question that kind of comes up all the time. People who have no knowledge of the WIPA program where you can work and receive SSI, can you all share a little bit of information on that as well?
Yeah, that's a great question. So actually in San Diego County, and I think Imperial as well, we actually have the contract for WIPA, which is the Work Incentives Planning and Assistance. I'm trying to remember. It's a different unit. So like Maria had said, we work for OCRA, and that's one unit of Disability Rights California to serve regional center clients or clients applying to the regional center. And then we have a grant with WIPA, which are different staff, different attorneys, different advocates who can help people who want to try to work even though they're receiving benefits, Social Security benefits specifically, SSI or another type of Social Security benefit. So maybe they want to work and receive benefits, or they just want to make sure that they don't lose their benefits while they're trying to work, especially if that work doesn't work out, which sometimes it doesn't, the very first time. So all of the WIPA services are free. And again, they're through Disability Rights California. They have a phone number where you can call to do an intake to get to a WIPA advocate. And again, they will give you information about your benefits, about how to plan for your benefits and how to go to work without it affecting your benefits, or with a minimal impact until you're ready to go off of those benefits. So it's kind of like the goal really is to get people working. That is the goal of the Social Security Administration and a lot of their benefits. But that doesn't mean that the day you start work, you're automatically cut off of your benefits. There are protections.
Right.
There are what they called work incentives. And so they actually give you a pretty good amount of time to try to figure out if you're going to be successful before they just stop your benefits. One thing with SSI is you always come out ahead when you're working and receiving SSI. So your SSI benefit is reduced by the amount that you work, but it's not dollar for dollar. So you actually come out ahead because of all of the work incentives that the Social Security Administration gives you. You come out with more money each month when you work and receive SSI. So Benefits planners through our WIPA program can go over all of that with you. The services are free. It's just a different phone number. Maria, can you put the DRC statewide intake number? So you would call, to get to the WIPA program, you would just call Disability Rights California's statewide intake number. Maria will put it in the chat. And again, those services are free to talk to someone about benefits planning. Melissa, did that answer?
That does answer it. And also just when I first started, I did get it's not a trifold, but it's just a fold brochure on the WIPA program. I don't know if there is anything digitally, because I'd love to make that available along with the replay and the slides that they'll be able to take a look at on our replay page. So if you all, Maria, if you have anything other than that, mine is a little bit tattered because I've handled it so much to refer to it. So I would love to have that. And we just have a couple of questions in the chat. Matthew would like to know, how is it decided when SSI checks are sent out, i.e. on the 1st or 15th of the month?
So SSI is typically sent out on the 1st of the month, which is a little different from other Social Security benefits, which are the 3rd of the month. So sometimes clients don't know what they're receiving, and we ask if they get their check on the 1st or the 3rd, and that's how we can tell. So SSI is typically the 1st of the month.
And another question, Matt says, thank you. Another question, my 18-year-old son recently started to receive his SSI. However, his payment was reduced because he's not paying rent. Any suggestions?
Yes, we have a publication that tells you exactly what to do in that situation. I would want you to call our office though and talk with Maria and do an intake so that we can gather your information. Because the training is general information, I can just tell you generally that Social Security in the SSI program has some rules that you have to be paying your fair share of the living expenses in order to get the what we would call the maximum adult benefit for a person living in their own household. If you're living with someone else and you're not paying your fair share, you're considered to be living in the household of another, and your check will be reduced by 1/3 of the federal benefit rate. So I can tell you that generally, and then to look into your specific situation, we would love to do an intake with you, and then we can tell you how that might work specific to your adult child's situation. So please call Maria at the 619 number as soon as this is over.
And I did just share that directly to you, Sherry. It's been posted a couple of times there in the chat, but I did just direct message Maria's contact info to you as well. Our last question that I can see, do you help with IEPs? I know that was fairly early on. They do, we do as well legally. Yes, they do. If y'all want to expound upon that as well.
Sure, yeah. I mean, special education is a big area that we do handle. We can do anything from taking a look at your IEP and your concerns, and then giving you counsel and advice based on our review of that and talking with you about the facts of your situation and your case or your child's case. We can do things like if the IEP says that you're supposed to be receiving, or your child is supposed to be receiving speech therapy and they're not getting it, we can file compliance complaints with the state to try to get you some compensatory services. We can represent at an IEP meeting if that's what's needed. Like Maria was saying in the training, a lot of times direct representation where we take on your case fully and do everything isn't what is needed. It might be something where you're just looking for information. Maybe you disagree with the school district's assessment and you want to ask for an independent educational evaluation, which the school districts, have to provide at public expense unless they want to challenge you on that and an appeal and take you to hearing on that. So we can do everything from, basic information about special education rights to counsel and advice, where we look at your documents and talk with you and give you tailored advice, to technical assistance where we draft something for you and you send it off and you go from there, to direct representation where we fully take on your case and we take everything from there. So it just depends on your situation, but yes, we can definitely help with those issues.
I have a parent here in our chat that has two sons that are individuals with disabilities. So a few questions here. Um, do you all help with Section 8?
I mean, I guess the short answer is we could. It just depends. Housing is one area where if it's not related to the developmental disability, we may refer you to a local legal aid organization that specializes in housing and does nothing but housing. As you can see, we do a lot of different disability related issues, IHSS, Social Security, Medi-Cal, healthcare, regional center, special education, housing if it's related to the developmental disability. A lot of times, Section 8 issues and landlord tenant issues are not necessarily related to the client's developmental disability. And that would be something where we might refer you out to a housing organization, a legal aid organization that specializes in housing. So I guess the short answer is it depends. And I would just want you to call us to let us know what your questions are, and we can tell you from there if we can help with something like that.
And I'll just piggyback off of what Katie said there before I go into your other questions. But Claudia, if you scroll up in the chat and I'll post it again, I'm going to provide my contact information again. We actually have someone on the webinar from CSA San Diego County. So as I mentioned really early on in the webinar, we've got two people I've been working with in tandem for a few of our bridge parents. And that's CSA San Diego County for housing. And then we had some disability rights for that same family. So part Maria assisted with, part Matthew Haig has assisted with. And we can kind of help you in differentiating the parts and pieces and the layers of your question. I'm going to go on to the second question, but again, after I read these, I'll just post my contact information. She also wanted to know changing case manager, termination, providing one-on-one for school, one-on-one supports, I'm guessing, for school, and their denial of services. And she said, I'm sorry, I know that's a lot, but I do have two disabled boys.
We see that a lot where someone calls us and there's actually several legal issues. They might have lost their Medi-Cal, they might need additional IHSS, they might have a problem with the school district, and they might want to change their service coordinator with the regional center. I mean, that's very common, so no need to apologize, of course, but we can look into all of those different issues. Those are all issues that we help with. You have the right to change your service coordinator at any time. That's a right that's given to you in the Lanterman Act. We recommend you do it in writing, and we have a sample letter. So we can help with that if you call us. One-on-one aids, there is fairly specific criteria in the law that you kind of have to meet to show that your child needs a one-on-one aid. We can give you those tips. We also have publications that kind of guide you through how to talk with the school district about the need for a one-on-one aid. I can't remember what else was in there. There was service coordinator, one-on-one aid.
Termination, providing, okay, and denial of services. Their denial of services, I guess, with the school.
Okay, yeah, I mean, school or regional center, we can definitely look into that. Again, it would be very individualized intake issues. So I would want you to talk with Maria and, give her all of your information. And termination, is that for a regional center or termination of a service? What specifically, what kinds of questions would you have with the termination?
Claudia,
And you can, yeah.
Can you unmute and differentiate that for us? Okay.
Yeah, I actually just rose my hand. With the Section 8, the service coordinator, I had asked her that if there was any help with for her to understand what our circumstances were and give me an extension because of both of my boys being disabled, one of them having severe behavioral issues and depression, and just, it's been hard at home for COVID. And the school has been horrible. So it's been a lot that we've had to deal with. And I've asked her for extensions, and she said there was nothing that she could do. But I know that there was something that they had provided about making extensions and making exceptions for people with disabilities. And she said that there was nothing that she could do to help me, and she was just going to terminate. And it was regarding my sons because we got the Section 8 because of my oldest, who is now bedbound. So it's just really difficult with trying to talk to people who don't give you all the services or the help that has been provided. And I've had the same issue with the school. I've told them about things that I wanted to do with my other son because his speech is, he has issues with his speech. You can't understand him unless you hang out with him and talk to him a lot. So they don't want to help with the speech. It's been, I don't know. He hasn't gone to school most of the time, most of this past year, yet he keeps on getting B's and A's in class, which I don't understand. But with his behavior, he actually just went through an ABA observation thing. So thankfully, they submitted something about the speech that he definitely needs help with that because they couldn't understand him a lot. Some things they could, but it was very, very difficult. Um, so all of this I did explain to both his service coordinator with Regional Center and with the Section 8, and denial, and the school also denied everything. So literally, I'm just lost.
I, I kind of wanted to chime in because I know that if it's an extension of the Section 8 voucher, San Diego County can assist. On the tip of the IEP and just having the behavioral issues layered in with just having an IEP, but he still continues to make excellent grades. Um, just from my personal experience with my son, we did not know what was going on and that he was being bullied for about 2 years. Um, in that last year, we wound up requesting a functional behavioral assessment. It's sometimes called an FBA, and it's just a letter. I have a template for the letter. I can share the actual one that I used, but a lot of times, especially because at that time Kendall was nonverbal. Um, it was very difficult to get the full of it until we then saw a psychologist. And then he was diagnosed with PTSD, had the functional behavioral assessment to work in tandem with the IEP. So these are things I was right where you are, and I did not know. Okay, how is he still a 3.8 student? What is happening? Why do things keep getting taken? Where is his planner? And it comes out that he was being bullied by three students, and it wasn't him that necessarily had the behavioral issues. It was something, it was another element, three other elements. So I would ask Claudia, I did direct message you my contact information and also added it into the chat again. Please, please, please call or text me. If you want to shoot me a text right now, that is my work mobile number. So you can text, you can call, you can email me. I can really get you some help. I can help you get connected to Maria and Disability Rights, Matthew for the Section 8, and then I can get you that letter. I've walked this path and I know what it's like to have two kids and you're trying to maneuver getting supports. So please, please, please feel free to text or call me, okay?
Thank you, Melissa. I really appreciate everybody's help. Thank you.
No, no problem, no problem. I'm sorry.
No, that is wonderful. I've been with Disability Rights California for 15 years. I've been to a lot of parent support groups, and I have got to say the best information, advice, and support comes from other parents. So that is great. It's really the best way to connect. Sure, you can call us. We're lawyers. We'll help. We'll do legal work, but I mean, seriously, the best source of information for your child is other parents. So that is great.
Um, we had one other question, actually, a question also about sound. Can everyone hear us right now? if you can hear us, thumbs up or click the the thumbs up and okay, perfect. Perfect. I see some thumbs. Good, good, good. And then also everyone, because as usual, so much information that is wonderful, that is so much needed has been shared. It is going to be, this replay is available on our website this coming Friday, along with all handouts. We're going to have some information on WIPA. Also, Maria's contact information is in the chat. There's also a survey link that I'm going to repost that Maria shared, just to make sure that everyone can get that and fill that survey out. Um, and our last question was asking about how long an IEP is valid. Um, it says we sat out preschool during, I'm sorry. Yes, we sat out of preschool during COVID.
Well, the IEP should be redone every year or anytime there's a change in placement or a change in services. And you can request a new IEP meeting anytime, and the district has to hold one within 30 days. I'm not sure what you meant by we sat out during preschool, but if there is a need for special ed services, you can ask for assessments and ask for an IEP meeting to go over those assessments, and then for the district to come up with, what services they're going to be offering based on the assessments and the IEP team's recommendations. And you're part of the IEP team, of course, as a parent. Does that answer it, Melissa, do you think?
I think it does. And then again, if you need further information, please reach out. Please, please, please reach out. Um, just a comment here. I'm so sorry this happened to your son. I'm heartbroken hearing this. My son is getting ready to start kindergarten. Um, your best kind of defense and support is, attendance of these webinars, finding a group, finding a peer to support you that, is in the industry. I volunteer myself in the industry, as well as just walking this path for the last 15 years. And when I tell you everything that you could probably think of just about has happened, even in COVID times, just getting the proper supports and getting them to do what they're supposed to do. Like, figure it out. Figure it out is kind of where I was around, the holiday season. Like, you still have to provide the supports. And so there are people in place, there are organizations like Disability Rights that can assist you to get those supports that your child is eligible for and supposed to receive. Our last question that I'm seeing is any advice to families that encounter ongoing barriers due to systematic problems within the regional center? I'm constantly facing roadblocks and implicit bias due to my son's race. I understand, Sherry. But any thoughts on that, Katie or Maria?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, there's always the option to change service coordinators, sometimes getting into a different, the different direct person who's helping you and into a different unit can make all the difference in the world, especially if they understand any kind of cultural issues, implicit bias. It's so dependent on the individual service coordinator sometimes. I mean, what services you get. The Lanterman Act is full of information about how the service coordinator is supposed to be an advocate, and how they're supposed to identify needs and be person-centered. And, the IPP process has a whole bunch of different protections for children and adults. They're just not always followed, that's the problem. And that's why groups like Melissa's exist, luckily. But it could be something as simple as changing the service coordinator. It could be going to the regional center's board meetings. It could be going to, if the regional center has disparity meetings, sometimes they have to hold at least one, purchase of purchase of service disparity meeting or POS disparity meeting every year, where they talk about the different data and how there is disparities among different ethnic groups and language groups at the regional centers. How some groups of people get more funding and more services than others. And so if you go to those meetings and you're vocal, they allow people to speak up, and they want to hear what could be, solutions from the community. That could be another thing, but we can also talk with you individually about your situation if you give us a call, and we can try to come up with some more, maybe some more individual ideas as well.
Just to piggyback off of what Katie said, there are those disparity groups and boards. Our CEO at A Better Life Together does work very, very closely with that group. And just to kind of reiterate what I shared at the top of the webinar, the Bridge project that puts on this Wednesday webinar series, it stands for Bridging Resources into Diverse Groups Everywhere. The project is funded by DDS, who wanted to know why there are individuals who are African American and who are in the refugee community who are not receiving services, but they're eligible for services. We mentioned that number of some 6,000 people who are on this list that we received at the beginning of the grant. I am not the president of A Better Life Together. I am a peer advocate. I work on the Bridge Project. I'm answering a question here. But we've literally spent the last year and a half making calls to parents who are eligible, have children who are eligible for receiving services, but either have had a run-in with a service coordinator. They know that they need to get their service coordinator changed, but they don't know how. Or, we have facilitated IPPs. We have facilitated the conversation with the program managers who the service coordinators or case managers report to. We have been able to walk people through the process of getting another service coordinator, because at the end of the day, all that you're trying to do is get supports for your child. That's all that you're trying to do. And so it the other side, and I walk a fine line. The other side of it is just, they are there to provide a service. And if you're not getting that service provided, there are organizations like the Bridge Project, like Disability Rights, like CSA San Diego County, who can facilitate those conversations where we all get on the Zoom and we move the needle a little bit quicker and we make something happen that needed to happen maybe months ago. And it's just about us all sharing that these organizations exist and the good work that they're doing. So again, I'm prayerful that really, really soon we'll be able to have Katie and Maria back again. I think we had one more question from Laura. I had SSI until I was 17. I applied again in 2016 and was denied. How can I get help in appealing this?
And Melissa, I kind of replied to her in the
Oh,
chat that I can definitely complete an intake with her, and she can contact our office, but we can definitely help with that and look into that for her.
Okay, and then I'm just going to share our web link. For those of you who came in later on, again, we will have our replay available per the usual. By Friday afternoon, we have the replay, the slides, any handouts or links. Maria's contact information won't live on the site. However, if you feel the need to message us through the site, I can get you all in touch with Maria. Or if you weren't able to screenshot it somehow, we can share that information and put you in touch. Someone just commented there is also an agency in San Diego called Task, which helps students with disabilities. And then Maria has also shared a link to Disability Rights California publications there in the chat. Um, and I want to just ask if there are any other questions. If anyone wants to take their self off mute, pop in and ask. This is really great. Thank you all, Katie, Maria. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks everyone for coming and for asking great questions as well.
Going once, going twice. And I also want to give a shout out to my new colleague, Katie. Hi, Katie. This is my first time seeing you.
Yeah, hi. It's nice to Zoom meet you. Yeah, I logged on late, but it was great hearing the questions and answers, and I'm excited to be on more of these Zooms.
I am so excited to start working with Katie. Yay, welcome. Okay. um, So I don't see any more questions popping into the chat. I just want to thank each and every one of you for logging on. Thank you for your comment. This is great. Thank you so much for all the amazing work. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You're welcome. I can't do what I've been trying to do just as a parent who's seeing other parents without people like Katie, Maria, Matthew, the other organizations in our county that are serving our children and our individuals with disabilities that matter, that really deserve to live their fullest life, which is the goal of a better life together, just to live as full of life as they can possibly live. That is our goal. That is our mission. So thank you all. Thank you all for joining in. Look out for the replay. And we're also going to have some kind of 3 to 5 takeaways from the Zoom. That'll be on the blog here shortly. So thank you guys again. I've been waiting for this. Yay! All right, we'll see y'all next time. Please be on the lookout for your email. We've got Spirit Club up next. That is Fitness for All. It's a really great organization on the East Coast, so we're excited to have them. And if you all were looking for the last advocate, we actually had to cancel at the last minute. She was ill. However, I am going to be posting up on the events page once we confirm her. I believe it will be on the 30th of this month, but please just keep your eyes on our events page. Subscribe at abetterlifetogether.org so you know when new events are posted. And I'm looking forward to seeing y'all at the next Wednesday webinar series. See you all. Have a wonderful, blessed day.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Hi, everyone.